And in 2010, I was really, my son was still home. So yeah, I was just working and being a mom. And then he started doing rowing. Then I was taking him to that all the time. I was a
You know,
taxi driver.
yeah, yeah. You're always going to be a taxi driver with a newborn or a young child,
Oh my
going
gosh.
from point A to point B to point Z. I had another question, but I'm going to backtrack a bit since you brought
Okay.
that up. You know, where you are today and where you were when you were with your young son, that's a lot. Taking care of child and trying to, push through a career that's highly technical, a career that requires your peak mental capacity, but you still need to be mentally present for a child as well. How did you do that? And, what like words would you tell to someone that's you back then?
Well, so yeah, when I started at Boeing, AJ was 4. And hmm, so he was, like I said, he was young. So he really needed me. I put him in, I wouldn't, I didn't just put him into like a preschool. Or like a daycare. I actually put him in preschool, and it was a school where they were actually teaching him. So he was there all day. He would go to aftercare, and I'm a late person anyway. I'm not a big early morning person. I've never been. I would do the aftercare thing, and I was programming back at that time, and then I would be on call as well. But then back then I was just going to Boeing. But there was a role that I wanted, and they had picked me for it to be on the team. I would have had to travel to Seattle quite a bit. So at that time, I had to turn it down. So I was like, I can't leave him, and just have somebody else watch him all the time. He's my responsibility. And so like I said, I turned it down. And then moved to New Orleans. It was just me and him pretty much. And one of my old coworkers, Mia, but it was just really me and AJ. And same thing, I had to, I would work late, but I had to make sure I was there to pick him up by 6 o'clock. And I didn't take work home then. But when I did get an offer from Oracle, I wanted to do that. I didn't take it because of him. I have a responsibility. That's my son. I have to make sure he's going to grow up to be a productive citizen, which he did, and I'm so proud of him. But then when I went to the USPS Office of Inspector General, that's when I did a lot more traveling. He was older in middle school and then also high school. So we had to travel around the country to do I was in IT audit then. And we went to, the post office data centers, California, Minneapolis, Raleigh, DC. I've also gone to Utah and Memphis and other parts of Virginia. So I had people at this time to help me. And so if they helped me navigate my career, AJ would stay with them throughout the week. Because I made friends here when I moved back to St. Louis at Boeing, and they would watch him. And so you have to have a group of people that you trust with your son, with your kids. And when he started getting into rowing, I'm happy the job that I had at that time was very flexible. I was working from home. I went into the office one day a week. So, and I had the ability to leave unless I had a meeting, but I had the ability to leave and go pick him up and drop him back off or to do different stuff and start working again. Because I would get on and start working like 3 o'clock in the morning, so I was always working. But if for someone who doesn't have that capability, and so I never worked like a SOC or like a help desk or something that totally required me to be in the office at like late at night. or I had to work like 12-hour days. I didn't have that, but I know some people will. With that, you have to have help. You really have to have help. Whether you're a single mom or a single dad. That's my friend in Chicago, the doctor, he is a single dad. So he's able to do the same thing.
Yeah, you definitely need help for sure. You need a team of people that you can trust your kid to be around. And, it's, so you need to, generate that fan base. But yeah, when you mentioned that, I thought, that's definitely another thing I come across. And that's something that I can't speak to, like, I'm not going to just sit there and say, oh, just like grind through it. You'll, whatever. I'm like, I don't know that struggle at that level. And, I feel imposter syndrome to even say something like that to someone. So I felt that was good what you said in terms of advice.
Yeah, definitely have some people. So I moved from Detroit and my family is not in St. Louis. It's just me. It was just me and AJ. It was just me and AJ in New Orleans. And luckily the friends that I got, they're good people. To this day, I used to watch their kids when they will try to go out and do something every now and then. But I do. I still go and see them. Will and Anika Townsend, my HBCU clique.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
And another thing they did to help me, they had another car. They weren't driving. They allowed AJ to drive that car to and from school, like when his senior year, from school and then back to like his practices, because his practice was like 20 some minutes away from here.
Wow.
Because rowing is a club sport, it's not in the schools. And he really enjoyed that. They practiced like crazy. They would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and practice. I hated that.
That's an interesting sport, rowing.
Yeah. And of course, there wasn't many Blacks that were part of it. When he first started, it was him and another guy. And then later on, it was just him.
Holding it down, representing.
Yeah, he actually did. And they were good. They were a good team.
So you got through that. You had to do a lot of leaning on support, and you had to, stay focused on jobs that provided you some, if not a lot, of flexibility. And then eventually, AJ was able to kind of maneuver through things, certain routines on his own, and even with the blessings of a car. In that process, today or before, was there someone for you, like a mentor that, helped shape your career or is currently helping to shape your career?
That is something I always say I need to do, is get a mentor. I've never gotten one. And I need to do it. What I tend to do, I talk, like I said, I talk to people a lot. And I ask for advice. I could say, well, maybe when I was at Edward Jones, I had I could just, maybe just in general, I always have unofficial mentors, I guess you could say. And one of them, he was a director. It was only like, he was the only Black director. And then there was a general partner that was Black. And the other ones may have been like lead, like managers, whatever. It was like 2 other lead managers. So it wasn't many that were Black that were there. But I would go and speak to Jerry, the director. Because, he's cool. He's been in, IT in the financial industry for a long time. He's from Philly. He actually used to live in Detroit too. And so, he's somebody I could just talk to in general about anything. And so, I would run different stuff by him. So he's unofficial. And I just made sure I communicated with people who have been around longer than me about different stuff. And just now to have an official mentor, yes, I need that. I do need that.
Yeah, that would be good to have an official mentor. I tell people a lot of times, I say, it doesn't have to be such a formal process. I'm like you. I have several people that I speak to, and when I think of them, I say to myself, you're my mentor. You just don't know it yet. But I'm using your insights and experience to help, short circuit, whatever routes I have to go through.
Yeah, because even they don't always have to be older either. I have she's a friend, Soror. Soror. Her name is Erica Harris. She was at Edward Jones. She was there before me, and she used to work for PwC and Ernst & Young. And I would also talk to her about different things, although she wasn't even in IT at the time. She was on the banking side. Well, before banking, I can't remember exactly what area she was in, but now she moved to be a director over banking during the pandemic, and now she's a general partner. And Erica is a year older than me, not even a full year. And so, asking her questions and getting advice from her as well, it helped me. It helped me, and I did appreciate it.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have that official mentor, like you said, but sometimes you just have to, make, what it do. I feel very familiar, or it feels very familiar when I speak with you, because a lot of the things you say, I've observed, or I've had that experience, or I've seen it play out. And, just more of that when I ask this question, what would you say to a woman, especially a young woman, who is marching dead center mass into a field that is mostly dominated by men, and double if there are, Black, they're Spanish, and the mostly dominated field by men are just mostly dominated by white men?
Mm-hmm. I tell them, like I tell the students now, or to high school kids who are interested in tech, you have to be okay with being the only one. And so, with that being said, you also need to be able to communicate, speak up, because if you don't, they're going to think you don't know anything. I mean, sometimes you speak, they still don't think you know anything. They may try to mansplain things, but you have to show them that you actually have the knowledge. Because if you don't, you just sit back and be quiet and mute and meek, they're going to run over you. So you can't do that, but you don't have to come off as being angry or whatever. Just be yourself. But don't make them think that you don't know what you're doing. You don't have to come off as the girl, as a silly girl who doesn't know anything, or joke about yourself and having deprecating jokes about yourself. Don't do that. Don't have the attitude. But I don't want to use a bad word. Don't be a bee. But be aggressive in your career. If you want to move ahead, move up within your career, go after those roles. Don't use imposter syndrome, because if you sit up there and think through the job, I don't know, I don't have this. You may have everything else but one thing, and you still don't apply. You would never know if you get that job if you didn't. If you don't apply, you never know if you may get it or not. One thing about men, and especially white men, they tend to go after these jobs. They may meet one requirement. They're going to apply because they feel they can learn on the job. Women, and I know, and minorities in general, we tend to say, I need to meet more qualifications before I apply. I mean, I'm not going to say, it may not always be true for some men, but we tend to have imposter syndrome, meaning we feel that we can't achieve this particular job, or we can't do this particular job because basically we're afraid. Really, that's what it is. We're afraid that we may not be able to be successful in that role. But I will definitely say, if it piques your interest, apply. Because somebody else may get that job who has less experience than you. And then you'll be mad at yourself. So speak up, apply for that job. Show that you actually know what you're doing. Don't act like the dumb. I don't want to just say blonde, because blonde women are not dumb, but that is a stereotype. Don't act like you're. I can't say that because these people may not know, especially young ones. I was going to say Chrissy off of Three's a Company.
Okay, stop. Time out. That is exactly the freaking name that just ran through my brain. I was thinking Chrissy as well too. That's crazy. Yeah. That's so crazy. Yeah. That's basically that character that's, oopsie daisy, whatever. Did I do that? Whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be that. You don't want to encourage a culture where you can be made fun of, because
exactly.
When you do that, you just give that green light for them to just go for the kill shot. So don't do that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I remember one girl, I went to a conference and she was speaking and she was talking about she became that girl. And I want to say she ended up switching jobs, but she was saying, she didn't know a lot of different stuff. She is coming in out of school, but she became Chrissy. And really, it's not a role that she really wanted to be in. You don't want to be that person. I mean, I fall, I laugh, but I still know what I'm doing at work. I still am able to communicate or ask certain questions of the very technical people, especially those pen testers, that pen tester team or the offensive security team. I'm still able to ask them certain questions in order for me to understand what they're doing and complete my work. So even if my family, we always say, we act like we're blonde. I may not be paying attention to certain things at a point. I have thinking about my line name. If my line sisters in my profiles were to say something. So I'm in a sorority, I'm AKA, and those people who may not know, some may know about it. We're online, we're giving names. And mine is one for people would think being a blonde. And even though at times I may have that, I'm not going to tell you my name. If you're looking at it, that's all your eyes. I'm not going to say it. But there are times, I may not, just like I said, be totally paying attention and, something may zone out. But I still know I know my job. So if I don't know it, I'm going to learn it.
Yeah. Just to double down, don't make yourself, a joke target. Don't be that, oh, ha, 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 look. No, you just got to be business. You just got to keep it, get your poker face on. Don't have to have any, whatever. And look, at some point, this is one other thing I would say. You're going to get checked. Someone is going to drop someone's going to be in trigger mode that day, and they're going to try to trigger you. And it's going to be so subtle, you're not even going to notice it until it's 5 seconds after the conversation's over, at sometimes, or even a little bit longer. But when that happens, you just have to find a way to just revert back to business mode and just be like, it's whatever. You can't touch me. You cannot touch me.
Oh, another thing, I haven't seen it where I am now, but this is when I was a programmer. I remember, and this that I would say, this is probably just me being a Black woman. I remember we were having a meeting, a status meeting, we were going over different stuff, and my coworker, she was explaining her work and the issues she was having. The project manager started drilling into her, asking her certain things. She got so upset, she started crying and she ran out the meeting. And me, I'm like, hey, I've never done that. And like I said, I think it's just me being a Black woman. I just am working with Black women in the professional world. I have not seen us be emotional. And so I will say, just based off of what I've done, I've just never been emotional, and I don't think that people should bring it into work. But, I know there are times things happen, but try not to be that way, especially in a male-dominant field. Don't do it.
Yeah. Just keep that business face, and just let them know that they can't touch you. They can't even, no matter what they do, they can't break your stride. You're going north, and nothing's getting in the way, or it's getting ran over.
Yep. You can't break my soul, if you listen to Beyonce. It's basically had that.
Right.
I just want to shout you out, Renita. Thank you for everything you bring to the show. Make sure y'all check out more of Renita with our other conversations, like how to switch into the tech industry, and are there cybersecurity jobs for people with no experience? Thanks for listening and watching to Tech or Die. If you haven't already, subscribe to Tech or Die and share this episode with your people so they can learn too.